This week, the issue is Trump triumphs. Now what? California's Senator-elect Adam Schiff with us to discuss his win and how he could potentially work with Trump. Former LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa here to talk about Latino men abandoning the Democratic Party and where the party should go from here. And TMZ founder Harvey Levin joins us to talk about the potential negative impact of celebrities on the race and what's next.
Broadcasting across California, you're watching The Issue Is.
Great to be with you and great to make the announcement on your show.
In January of 2023, Congressman Adam Schiff announced his run for U.S. Senate right here on The Issue Is. In November of 2024, Schiff won that race and is now the U.S. Senator-elect from California. Senator-elect Adam Schiff, welcome back to The Issue Is. First time I've ever called you Senator-elect. Congrats to you.
Thanks so much. Great to be back on your show. I think kicking off on your show was the way to go. It's a good luck charm.
It was the key to victory. I think every political scientist is saying that, so I'm glad that you pointed that out. You have waited a long time for this. I know this result was pretty much expected for the last few months, but describe the emotions of this race being called for you and being the next senator from California.
Well, my first feeling was, one of incredible gratitude to millions of people throughout the state that voted to send me to the U.S. Senate to represent them. It's such an incredible place, California, with amazing people, with an incredible economy, with great entrepreneurs and innovation, with great natural beauty. And the idea of representing that wonderful state was just overwhelming. And I'm so grateful to people for their trust and support and look forward to getting to work and delivering for them.
Your Republican opponent, Steve Garvey, called you on election night. What did he say?
We actually spoke, I think, the day after, and he was very gracious. I thanked him for the call, which is a classy thing to do. People don't always do that anymore these days. We talked about getting together after the holidays. And I expressed my appreciation that I think for the most part, or both of our campaigns kept it a very positive campaign, even while all the campaigns going around us became so very negative. So it was a good conversation and look forward to the opportunity to get to go with him after the dust settles.
You have been warning against Trump and Trumpism as much as anybody in this country. Why do you think more than 70 million Americans supported him?
I think people voted the economy, and that is so often the case. We have a challenge facing the American people that is unlike we've had in the past. That is, today, the problem is not that people are out of work. Unemployment's very low. The problem is that they are working and they're still struggling to get by. And I think people were voting their pocketbook. They were voting their hopes for a better economy. And even though we made a lot of progress on inflation, prices are still well higher than they were before the pandemic. So I think people were voting for who they thought would do a better job with the economy. And much as we tried to make the case that that was Democrats, Donald Trump succeeded making the case that that would be Republicans, and we have to respect the will of the voters.
So how do Democrats message better?
So I think it's more than message. I think it requires a bold agenda, and I would begin with housing. That's going to be my focus in the U.S. Senate from day one, is building more housing, bringing down the cost of housing, dealing with homelessness, bringing down the cost of food and medicine, raising people's incomes and standard of living. That's where I think we need to be laser focused.
How do you get that done if you're a junior senator in the minority in a body that requires 60 votes to do almost anything?
Well, you have to find common ground. When Donald Trump was president in those first 4 years, I was the chair of the Intel Committee, or the ranking member of the Intel Committee, and I had to get intelligence bills passed out of committee, and we did. I'm going to look for partners across the aisle. I'm going to seek out Republican senators that share my concern about housing costs, that want to incentivize the building of new housing, bring down childcare costs. There's a lot of bipartisan room for agreement on these things. We're going to have to find it in an era of closely divided government. We're going to have to find ways to work together.
Are there any specific Republican senators you've already started that conversation with?
There are. And the model for me really is Dianne Feinstein. She developed good relationships across the aisle. She got to know the issues up and down the state. I want to do that. I want to make sure that I'm delivering for everyone, whether people voted for me or they didn't. I want to be their representative.
Trump has suggested you are part of the enemy from within and that he may use the military against American citizens. We know you've dealt with death threats from Trump supporters in the past. Are you concerned for your safety?
I think all of us these days have to be concerned about our safety, and I am. I'm taking precautions. But at the same time, nothing's going to deter me from doing my job. In the first part, I'm going to focus on getting things done and delivering. The former president has talked about bringing costs down and strengthening our economy. If that's where his focus is, then he'll find a willing ally. On the other hand, should he move to try to take away the rights and freedoms of Californians, should he move to try to tear down the guardrails of our democracy, as before, he will meet a vigorous opponent in me. So I'm going to start hoping for the best and working to deliver for California. That's going to be my priority, but I will do whatever is necessary to protect the rights and freedoms of my constituents.
So what you're saying is, are you ready and willing to work with Donald Trump?
I am. If he's willing to work to bring down the cost of living, if he's willing to work together to address the economic challenges facing the American people, I will work with anyone.
We like to end with stuff that's fun on this show. So one thing I noticed that you did on the campaign trail was spend a lot of time with dogs. You called them Dogs for Democracy. What did that do for your soul?
Well, one thing I discovered, Alex, is you can give the Gettysburg Address and maybe 5 people listen to you. But if you're holding a dog, then everybody's going to listen to what you have to say, or it'll just put a smile on your face. So I'm an animal lover, and dogs in particular. And so I always look for those opportunities to connect with my 4-legged friends.
Very nice. And we'll end with personal issues, which I know you love, to get to know you a little bit better. I know you haven't had a whole lot of time for cultural favorites recently, but just whatever comes to mind in terms of your recent interests in between all the campaigning and traveling. Here we go. We're going to put 30 seconds up on the clock. What is the favorite TV show you've binged recently?
Oh, gosh. I think The Old Man, with
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges.
Your favorite.
Yeah.
Favorite movie you've seen recently?
Oh, I haven't really. Oh, okay. The Quiet Girl. It's a Irish film. It's pretty incredible.
Favorite book you've read recently?
Grant, and that's been a while, so I haven't read anything particularly great since I read Grant.
That's Ron Chernow. It's so long that you could still be reading it. And lastly, maybe you get a few days off finally after this multi-year campaign. What's the best way to relax?
For me, it's going out to dinner and a movie with my wife. And Alex, I have to tell you, on election night, somebody gave me a quote from one of my favorite movies, The Big Lebowski, which kind of summarized the election this year for me. And that quote is, sometimes you eat the bear and sometimes the bear, well, he eats you. And that seemed to be a good summary of things this year.
Which one are you in this scenario? Are you eating or being eaten?
A little of both, honestly, this election.
Yeah. All right. Well, I figured you'd bring up The Big Lebowski somewhere. So we end with music. This is the theme song of The Big Lebowski, your favorite movie of all time. Here's Bob Dylan with The Man in Me. Congressman, Senator-elect, thanks again for being here. We'll have to visit you in Washington.
You are seeing non-college educated Latinos begin to vote like non-college educated white voters. And that is bad news for Democrats because non-college educated white people are at the core of the Trump coalition.
Political strategist Brian Goldsmith on Katie Couric making the point that Latinos, as they assimilate over the generations, are starting to change their political vote patterns. Look at this number. Trump gained 35% among Latino support in 4 years. That's pretty astounding. With us to discuss is Antonio Villaraigosa. He was LA's first Latino mayor in 130 years, is now running to be the next governor of California. Mr. Mayor, welcome back to The Issue Is.
Great to be with you as always, Alex.
Good to see you. So what happened with Latinos specifically?
Well, they're invisible. I mean, let's be honest. One party demonizes them and they're invisible with the other party. And they have been for a long time. I said a long time ago, 6 years ago to be exact, that we can't be a party of just people that drive a Tesla and not a Toyota pickup or ride a bus like my mother did. You know, people have been saying for a while now that the economy is important to them, that paying for gas and groceries is something they're struggling with, that the rents are too high, that there's not enough housing, that their kids, they're worried that their kids are not going to have the life they had. I think we just weren't listening to Latinos and people that don't have an education. It doesn't, if you don't have a college education, it doesn't mean you're stupid. It means that you have other experiences. They're the majority of people in this country last time I looked. And you would think that we would be focusing on the majority, but we didn't.
Because Trump says his big thing is mass deportation. A lot of polls suggest that mass deportation is popular as a concept. Do you think that that's realistic? Do you think he actually wants to do that? And what sort of impact does that have on California?
It's popular until it isn't. When people start seeing their family members, their employees, when we can't find dishwashers and cooks in our restaurants, when our fields are empty of workers, and our construction sites are missing the number of workers that we need, that's going to change. Nobody's ever questioned the idea that we should prioritize, as an example, people who commit serious crimes and felonies. But the notion that we're going to deport 11 million people may sound good to some people right now, but wait till it actually happens.
So you're running for governor. I know you ran against Governor Newsom the last time, but what do you think is the biggest difference between you, Antonio Villaraigosa, as governor potentially going forward, and the current governor?
You know, look, I'm not running against the current governor. I'll tell you what's the difference between me and the other candidates very clearly. I made it clear. When I see some in the legislature talk about closing down refineries and making it almost impossible to operate refineries, which, by the way, produce the cleanest fuels in the United States of America, lay off thousands of union workers. Are we going to just push more of those people to Trump? At the end of the day, why aren't we building transmission in this state? Why is it that last year Texas passed up California on solar and wind? Why is it that Florida and Texas are drawing down more money from the Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act than California? I'll tell you why. We spend too much time setting these goals that, while maybe attainable, we're not doing anything to make them happen.
Let's have a little bit of fun to end this. We play personal issues on this show. It's just 30 seconds on the clock to get to know your cultural favorites. Get away from some of the talking points. Here we go. What is the TV show that you've binged recently?
Oh, that one's easy. Handmaiden.
Handmaid's Tale, right?
Handmaid's Tale.
Okay. Best book you've read lately.
It's a book by David Lionheart, something about what America used to be, about the economy and how Democrats have forgotten the little guy.
Okay.
It's a great book.
Okay, and who's your favorite musical artist?
It's still Tupac.
Tupac?
Yeah. You know why? I just love the way he spoke. He had his ear to the ground. He spoke to the pain of young people. He also spoke to their aspirations, and I love, my favorite is Keep Your Head Up. We gotta respect our women, and we gotta be accountable.
So I will play that the next time you're on the show. But the last time you were on the show, you told us that your first ever concert was Three Dog Night.
Yeah.
So we have a little Joy to the World.
Joy to the world, man. We need a little joy to the world. We could use.
So we go to break with that. Mayor Villaraigosa, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take it away.
This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again.
The whole country is still processing Donald Trump's big historic election win. So how did he do it? And what can Democrats learn for the future? TMZ founder Harvey Levin has known Donald Trump for many years. Here they are filming Harvey's show Objectified at Trump Tower before Trump became president. Harvey has some strong views on this, and he joins us now from TMZ. Harvey, welcome back to The Issue Is.
My pleasure, Alex.
So how did Trump do this?
Well, I'm not sure he did it as much as the Democrats did it, to be honest with you. Look, there are a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump who don't like him. And you got to then ask why. I would say the Democrats have become bullies. And I don't know how else to put it. But when you look at what the media did and what people in the party did, people who led the party, it's not about what they call Donald Trump, because that's all fair game. But when you start calling, people who are inclined to vote for him for various reasons, misogynists and racists and garbage, deplorables, it is just shaming people into revolting. And I think that there has been a level of bullying. Look at Hollywood, Alex. That if somebody supports Trump in Hollywood, a lot of them get blacklisted, and they talk about that. So I think there's got to be some introspection on tolerance, that, this is a party that talks about tolerance and inclusion, and which is great, when it comes to, uplifting, groups that, have experienced prejudice. But when they deal with their opponents, they got to kind of show the same grace. And I think they lost that.
Well, and there were a lot of Democrats that seemed to be telling voters, don't believe your own eyes on a lot of different issues. When it comes to immigration, they were saying that the border was secure when bipartisan majorities said that they didn't like the policy there. When it comes to the economy, they were telling people Bidenomics was working when people were paying more for their groceries.
I think that's exactly right. Listen, the media amplified this, and you know that as well as anybody, that the media was pushing this narrative. And I think, in many ways, lots of traditional media, certainly cable, they used wishful thinking that they masqueraded as political analysis. And, they wanted a certain result and were pushing that result. And I think a lot of voters saw right through that. And, I think people who otherwise might have given Kamala Harris more of a shot, I think they were driven away from her. I think this was the Democrats losing the election as much as it was Trump winning.
And it also seems to be a problem that a lot of the Democratic leadership and the media, they're all college-educated people that surround themselves with people that have similar worldview, and they literally don't talk to anybody with any different point of view, so they have no way of understanding where a big chunk of this country is. And a lot of those people wanted to give them the middle finger for that.
Absolutely. Look, it's complicated. It's the economy. It's immigration. It is, Biden dropping out too late. I think some of it is misogyny. Some of it is racism. Mm-hmm. All of that is combined. But there's this overarching thing about, Democrats just not giving the time of day to people that they disagree with. And I think that cost them dearly.
Where do the Dems go from here?
Well, I have some strong thoughts about this. I think a lot of people, if given a real choice, they tend to be more toward the center. And I don't think you want to go to the left wing if you're a Democrat. And I think you need to move toward the center. And I think that's bad news for Gavin Newsom. I'll tell you that. I think it's bad news for Gavin Newsom. People don't perceive him that way. And, we've already now seen how Republicans used California elected officials to score points in a presidential election. I don't see how that flies next time.
And it would be a lot harder for Gavin Newsom, who has a lot more ownership of homelessness and a lot of the California issues than Kamala Harris did, because she wasn't involved with as much of that. And one other thing, since you're the TMZ guy, and we talked about this on your show, the impact of celebrities. We saw the big final push. We saw Beyonce, we saw Oprah, we saw Lady Gaga, we saw Taylor Swift, all the biggest celebrities out, Jennifer Lopez. Do you think they actually hurt her, maybe?
I don't think they hurt her, but I definitely don't think they helped her. You may be a huge fan of Oprah Winfrey or Lady Gaga or Bruce Springsteen. How does Bruce Springsteen feel about the economy? I have no idea. I happen to love Bruce Springsteen, but I'm not going to say, oh, God, I got to vote for so-and-so. I've got to vote for Kamala Harris because Bruce Springsteen supports her. He must know about the economy. No, I like his music. And I think that's the way most people see it. We're not lemmings. We don't just follow the people we like. And I think we got to give voters more credit that they're more independent thinkers than a lot of people give them credit for. And what matters to them? What matters to them is what affects them personally. That is a huge part of it. And I think the Democrats missed the boat on that.
So thank you, Harvey. Always great to hear from you. We're going to end with music, because we always do. So it's fitting that we end with music from the final Harris rally of the election. Here's Lady Gaga and The Edge of Glory. We end this week with a personal note. A big congratulations to my sister and my new brother-in-law. Danielle and Julian are getting married this weekend, and I'm honored to be officiating it. I love them both. I'm so proud of them and excited for what's next. We'll see you all next week for more of The Issue Is.